Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Today, we will be playing our first Modern Horizons 2 updated deck in the form of Mono Blue Sanity Grinding Mill. This is a deck that I've played before, but got some upgrades with Modern Horizons. So the first card that I'm going to talk about is Sanity Grinding. Sanity Grinding is the card this deck was originally built around. It's a card from Lorwyn. At least I think that's Lorwyn. That might be Eventide, I'm not sure. Anyway, it is a 3-mana blue sorcery. It's triple blue. And it says, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each blue mana symbol revealed this way, target opponent mills a card. Then you put the cards revealed this way on the bottom of your library in any order. So the idea is, you pack your deck full of as many blue mana symbols as possible, and then this card becomes a better Maddening Cacophony, Glimpse the Unthinkable, sort of like a Mind Funeral effect, but in mono blue. Obviously, we've added Counterspell, because Counterspell is one of those just add as many blue mana symbols as possible cards to your deck. But the big upgrade is Fractured Sanity. Now, Fractured Sanity is another triple blue sorcery that recently got printed. And it's triple blue and each opponent mills 14 cards, so it's kind of like a redundant Sanity grinding. But it also has cycling. And when you cycle Fractured Sanity, each opponent mills 4 cards. So it gets around targeting, both in its cycle mode and in its cast, much like Maddening Cacophony. So if your opponent brings in Leyline of Sanctity, all you gotta do is just cast Maddening Cacophony, cast Fractured Sanity. To support this, we have Archmage's Charm as a counterspell, we have Cryptic Command as a bounce and counterspell, does a little bit of everything. Force of Negation, because if we're tapping out to cast sorceries, we're going to need some free counterspells. We've got Archive Trap, if our opponent dares to fetch, we're going to mill him for a lot. We got Hedron Crab and Ruin Crab, the most efficient mill spells in Modern. Visions of Beyond, we should very quickly turn this into Ancestral Recall just to absolutely reload. We have Field of Ruin, which is a little awkward when you're playing triple blue spells, but it's the only way we can force our opponent to search their deck, even if they have hexproof. We have some fetch lands to just trigger landfall for Ruin Crab and Hedron Crab faster. Out of the sideboard, we have Commandeer and Force of Negation, basically for more free counterspells. I have a single Subtlety that I opened from Modern Horizons 2, so I figured why not, let's throw that in here. There might be a creature spell we need to tuck back on top of their deck. We have Void Snare if they have any problematic permanents that require us to answer them. Tormod's Crypt if we need Grave Hate, Surgical if we need Grave Hate, Ashiok if we need Search and or Grave Hate, and Dismember to take out a couple of problematic creatures for as minimal mana as possible. And with that said, let's go ahead and take this into a Modern League and see what happens. I have not tested this deck. This is based on the previous version, just the best that I could do in the amount of time that I allotted for myself. So we're going to use this as a learning experience. It could be good, it could be bad. Who knows? See you guys in round 1. All right, round 1 will be on the draw. And this hand, while it does technically function, not having a second blue source makes this hand really bad. I'm going to mulligan. This is infinitely better. This is so much better. I'm going to keep. Put back Island. We'll keep the fetch land. Hopefully I don't regret that. I'm going to start Scalding Tarn. And is passing. We untap. Draw an island. Play an island. Pass the turn. Okay. I'm going to crack Scalding Tarn. Make it a Steam Vents tapped. Well, hopefully they're not through the breach. They cycle Street Wraith. Alright. We mill them for 13. They're an As Foretold Electro Dominance Living End list, it looks like. Well, hopefully we don't just get absolutely wrecked by Living End. That would be bad. Opponent untaps. They draw a card. They play a Fiery Islet. And they pass. Or they're casting something second main. It's Electro Dominance. So here comes Crashing Footfalls. Not what I had anticipated, but we gotta race 2 Rhinos. We untap, draw Cryptic, play an island, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw. They play a Scalding Tarn. They go to combat. They attack us for 8. Take 8, go to 12. So I'm going to cycle Fractured Sanity. Mill our opponent for 4. Okay, we mill Brazen Borrower, Living End, so they're not cascading at all. And they have both. We draw an island. Untap. We draw Sanity Grinding. Man, what are the odds they just, like, get us, huh? Play an island. I mean, we could Sanity Grinding. We'd have to reveal 33 blue mana symbols in 10 cards. I don't think that's possible. So we'll pass the turn. So we'll let them search their deck. They get a Steam Vents tapped. Let's see if we can get some Archive Traps. That might do it. Hey, we got an archive trap. Mill him for 13. Pass the turn. Only 19 cards left. A good sanity grinding ought to do it. I don't think they can kill us this turn, especially not with us holding a counterspell. They attack us for 8. We go to 4. Alright, we untap. Draw Prismatic Vista. They've got to have a remand, though, right? Well, we didn't come here to not do it. Yep. That's close. I mean, like, they were going to remand the Cryptic, so not bad, really. Curator of Mysteries. Alright. So Living End, huh? I definitely want Commandeer and Force of Negation in this matchup. And actually Surgical as well. Cryptic is going to be near on useless. Archmage's Charm is going to be somewhat okay. Sanity Grinding might actually be bad. I have to cut 4 cards. Actually, I think I cut the Visions of Beyond. And maybe play Ashiok? Could that be right? Yeah, I'll cut some Hedron Crabs and we'll play Ashiok. So I've definitely messed with the curve this time. So Commandeer, if my opponent Electro Dominances out the Crashing Footfalls, we get the Rhinos. Like, that could be really good. Alright, I would like to play first. This hand is excellent. I'm going to keep. Ley Lines. What was I talking about earlier? The fact that, like, we can... The problem is Hedron Crab targets, so we can't play Hedron Crab, which means Hedron Crab is just Force of Negation fodder. But the rest of our spells say each opponent. Opponent plays Spirebluff Canal, and passes. Oh, but Sanity Grinding targets, doesn't it? Ruin Crab doesn't. Play Ruin Crab. Opponent cycles a Curator of Mysteries. Play a Flooded Strand. Mill our opponent. Fetch. Get an island. Mill our opponent. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play a Spirebluff Canal. It'd be great if whatever they attempted they tried on their own turn. Because of Force of Negation. Because we don't have Commandeer. I'm willing to bet if they kept a hand with double Leyline, it was subpar. And they might play Afraid of Counterspell. Or they might just force us to have it. We untap. We draw another Sanity Grinding. Pass the turn. Electro Dominance. Well, let's see what they put on the stack. Living End. Okay. So what do they get back? A Curator of Mysteries. 2 Curators. So the only thing we can do here is cycle Fractured Sanity and hope for Surgical. Actually, I think we're just dead. We gave them another Curator of Mysteries. We got the island. Yep. Alright. I'm going to say we're dead. Force of Negation is not Force of Will, and this is why. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright. Round 2 will be on the play. That hand's not keepable. This one is, though. I think I put back an island. That doesn't let me cast Archmage's Charm, but hopefully we draw another land. So we're going to lead on Hedron Crab. Play the island. Play the crab. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Alright. Opponent finally goes to their draw step. One of the things that's pretty major in the mono-blue version of this deck is the fact that you lose all the life gain that you gain from black. So maybe it's still correct to have like Crypt Incursion and stuff out of the board, but... So opponent immediately begins by bolting the crab. They are playing very slowly. We untap. We draw Fractured Sanity. Well, that gives us something to do this turn. If our opponent doesn't do anything we want to counterspell, they untap, they draw, they play an Arid Mesa, they crack Arid Mesa, they get a Sacred Foundry untapped, they play a Swift Spear, might as well counterspell. Then they play a Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide's actually kind of nice, because that potentially draws us some cards. We get a Polluted Delta. Alright. Archive Trap. Get hit for 2. We untap. We draw Sanity Grinding. Well, like I said before, I came here to do one thing and one thing only. And that's to cast Sanity Grinding on my opponent. So let's see how many blue mana symbols we can flip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, slightly better than Glimpse of the Unthinkable. Oh, we can put them back in any order. Not that that really matters, but... Alright, they only have 26 cards left. Pass the turn. Opponent shocks a Sacred Foundry. They play a second Goblin Guide. Go to combat. They attack us for 4. We get hit down to 13. We get skewered. Untap. We draw a Ruin Crab. Let me think about this. If I cycle Fractured Sanity and draw a land, that would be ideal. Because then I could play Ruin Crab and then mill my opponent. I can just, like, Glass Cannon mill my opponent with Fractured Sanity, which mills slightly more than half the cards remaining in their library. Or I can Archmage's Charm to try and draw cards. Or I can leave Archmage's Charm up as a counterspell. I think we gotta try and cycle for a land. Sanity grinding. Alright, well, we can... If we don't die... I should have played the Ruin Crab. That was actually a mistake. God, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. We're done. That's the only thing I was planning on doing. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn. Cryptic Command on top of our deck. Not really what I want to draw. Okay, we can hit the 6. Opponent Boros Charms us to 2. Second Boros Charm. That's my fault for not playing the Crab. We would have survived that by exactly 1. So we're bringing in Commandeer and Subtlety. I'm going to drop the Cryptics. Dismember is not good here. Void Snare might actually be kind of okay. Yeah, we don't have a way to gain life, which is generally how you combat this sort of deck. I'll cut 1 counterspell. Try it like that. I would like to play first. Alright, I'll keep. If I have to, I could exile Maddening Cacophony to force a negation to protect Ruin Crab on my opponent's turn. That is somewhat reasonable. So, opponent mulligan to 6, they draw a card. They play Fiery Islet into a Goblin Guide. They go to combat, and they pass. We untap, draw Visions of Beyond, play an island, mill our opponent for 3, and I think we do Maddening Cacophony. Mill our opponent for 8, pass the turn. So now if they kill the Crab, it's not so bad, because we can just Field of Ruin, then Archive Trap, then Visions of Beyond. Opponent plays a Monastery Swiftspear. They kept a 1-lander? Oh, I don't know about that. Fractured Sanity on top of our deck. So block here, take 1, we untap, draw Fractured Sanity, mill our opponent, Field of Ruin, Fiery Islet, get an island, mill our opponent, Archive Trap them, Visions of Beyond. Yeah, they're gonna have a bad time next turn. We can even pitch this Hedron Crab to force a negation, although that does stop our maximum mill. They play Inspiring Vantage. We probably just... If they, like, Searing Blaze, I think we pitch Sanity Grinding, because second Crab, land, Fractured Sanity is exactly lethal. When it goes to combat, they attack. We're not going to block. Another Visions of Beyond. Take 3. They're going to skewer the Crab. Do we care? I'm going to pitch the other Crab to protect this one. Because if we get a good flip off of Sanity Grinding, they're just dead. They have another Skewer. The fact they had to do this post-combat, though, and the fact that 6 damage didn't go to our face means they're dead. There's no way they can do 16 damage with only 1 prowess creature and 3 cards in hand next turn. I'm 99% certain. They kill Ruin Crab. We untap. We draw Visions of Beyond. Alright, well, Visions of Beyond. We get an Archive Trap. Play an island. Sanity Grinding. See if we can hit 20 blue mana symbols. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Not quite. Well, if we survive this turn, they die. Because we just Fractured Sanity and it's game over. Maybe I should be playing Chancellor of the Spires in this version. Because we actually want cards that we can pitch to, like, Force Negation and stuff. The problem is, it takes up slots and is basically uncastable. So unless we're pitching it to Commandeer, it does nothing. And it only gives us bonus mill if it's in our opening hand. And otherwise only applies to Sanity Grinding. So while it theoretically decreases the number of turns to kill your opponent and gives you some magical Christmas land scenarios, I suspect it's not good, but it would be cool. I'm getting the sense that Sanity Grinding is not actually a good card. But that's why we're on Mad Meta, right? We gotta find out if this card's good or not. And every time they print another triple blue mill spell, we'll play it again. Alright, opponent scoops. Modern Mill is just, it's too reliant on Archive Trap. It really is. Otherwise it's just nowhere near fast enough. Alright, run it back. pray for an excellent hand. Okay, I can work with this. Especially because we're on the draw. If we draw another blue card, we can keep Counterspell and Force up, potentially. Oh, shoot. I should not be auto-yielded. Okay, opponent did not play a fetch land. I should not be auto-yielded because I'm lagging so bad. Okay, opponent hits us for 1. We untap, especially when we have free Counterspells as well. We draw a Flooded Strand. Play an island. Play Crab. Pass the turn. Okay. Opponent's turn. They untap. They draw. They play a Fiery Islet. Eidolon of the Great Revel. Not a lot I can do about that. They don't attack. We untap. Draw Prismatic Vista. Play Prismatic Vista. Mill our opponent. Crack Prismatic Vista. Get an island. Mill our opponent. Pass the turn. So I may have to cast Counterspell this turn. It would not be good if I did. Opponent untaps. They draw. I mean, it would be if it was countering something like Searing Blaze. When it goes to combat, they attack. So we block Eidolon. Because that way it's not just dead to a prowess trigger. We take 1. Skewer the critics. Counterspell. 2 blue. Never thought I'd see the day counterspells in Modern. Opponent takes damage from their own spell, though that's largely irrelevant. They suspend a Rift Bolt. Okay. We untap. Draw Prismatic Vista. Play Prismatic Vista. Mill our opponent. Crack Prismatic Vista. Get an island. Mill our opponent. Pass the turn. I think I will, if they try and Rift Bolt the crab, I think I actually force a negation. Hardcast. So they untap. Rift Bolt coming off suspend. We end up taking damage. Though I think ultimately less than if our opponent was able to swing through Ruin Crab several times. When it goes to combat. So what they're doing right now is they're kind of faking that they have a Searing Blaze, but no land drop to turn it on. That might actually be the case. But that would be the worst case scenario for us, I think. Because we have no backup if that's the case. Like, we have an Archive Trap we can't even cast. Second Eidolon. Alright. Well, us not having a way to gain life is pretty bad. We untap. I can mill them for 20 cards, but I take 4 damage doing it. So, play Prismatic Vista. Like, I still have to, I think. I could cycle, but that's significantly less milling. And I'm going to try and hardcast Archive Trap next turn. So hang on, I have 17 and 13. I have 30 mil right now. We're going to take 4, go to 6. They're going to hit us for at least 3, and we're going to go to 3, and we're dead to a single bolt. Maybe I do cycle. I mean, if I cycle, I could draw Force, which might help me stay alive. I could also draw another Archive Trap, and then if my opponent does play a fetch land, we could get him that way. This is tough. I think I'm going to go Glass Cannon here. I'm probably dead. I think the second Eidolon means I'm probably dead, but... Mill our opponent for 14. Yeah, we're going to 5. 6 and 5, I think, are the same. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They go to combat. And they attack for a lot. Block here. Take 3, go to 2. Yep. So, if my opponent... I'm not sure what my opponent could have had, but if my opponent was holding, like, I don't know, 2 Flames of the Blood Hand, or some 3-mana burn spell that they don't actually play. Like, I guess if they were playing, or if they had Rift Bolts... No, actually, I would have died to Rift Bolts before they would have died drawing for turn. But, Fetch Land, Crack Fetch Land, we would be at 1, they would mill 6 and go to 12, Hardcast Archive Trap would kill them. But they would have to have, like, Flames of the Blood Hand, or Roiling Vortexes, or something like that in their hand. And we were really, really hurting for the lack of the Crypt Incursion there. So, alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, we're on the play this time. And it's a little bit slower of a hand, so I'm going to keep. Hopefully Counterspell on turn 2 is going to be good enough. This hand would be better if the second Sanity grinding was a crab. Unfortunately, it is not. Since I have 2 fetch lands, I'm going to play 1, make my opponent think I'm something I'm not. It's like if my opponent sees Flooded Strand, Island, Counterspell, they're going to think something's up. Opponent cycles a Street Wraith, plays a Verdant Catacombs, cracks Verdant Catacombs for a Blood Crypt, Burning Inquiry. Alright, a Bloodghast deck, huh? Opponent just dumped Visions of Beyond, Island, Counterspell out of our hand. So like half the reason I kept this hand. Archive Trap. Oh, it's a Vengevine deck, alright. We untap. They got Cabal Initiate in there. Play an island, pass the turn. We are going to be uber dead to almost anything. They have Blazing Rootwalla because they can play it for free off Burning Inquiry. That's pretty good, I would imagine. Opponent cycles a Street Wraith to begin. This is the Revenge of Hollow One. Opponent plays Gurmag Angler. And they're going to get back Vengevine. This is probably another Delve threat, so it's either Gurmag or Tasigur. Another Gurmag. So they're going to hit us for 4, we're going to go to 16, and then the next turn they're going to hit us for 16. So even if we cast Sanity Grinding, we would have to flip more mana symbols than is possible to kill them. Alright, concede. So, Ashiok, Tormod's Crypt, Surgical, Subtlety, and Dismember in. I think Force of Negation is going to come out. Archmage's Charm and Cryptic actually seem really slow. I know that's like half of my interaction, but then I'll cut like a Maddening Cacophony or two, and we'll try it like this. Alright, I'll play first. Well, we have Subtlety, and we have Ruin Crab. Alright. Play Prismatic Vista, crack Prismatic Vista, get an island, play the crab. They probably want to be milled, at least to an extent, you know. So I think if my opponent plays a creature, like if they somehow get a crazy amount of cards engraved and then play like Gurmag Angler, we Subtlety pitching Sanity Grinding. The old Thoughtseize, huh? Well, they're going to see Subtlety and they're going to see Counterspell. They take Counterspell, then they pass. We untap, we draw Counterspell because the Thoughtseize curse is real. Mill our opponent. Crack. Island. Mill our opponent. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. Cycle Street Wraith. They play a Blood Crypt untapped. Goblin Lore. Draw 4 cards and discard 3 at random. They do have Madness spells. They have the Root Walla. Okay. So I'm going to cycle Fractured Sanity here because I really need to hit a land. So mill our opponent for 4. Draw Dismember. We untap. Draw Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta, mill our opponent. Crack Polluted Delta. Island, mill our opponent. Sanity Grinding. Come on. 30 blue mana symbols. I don't think it's possible, not with all the stuff I took out. Which makes actually probably Sanity Grinding one of the first things you should side out if you bring in any number of black cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Put them back in any order. Opponent has 17 cards left. We have a Subtlety and a Dismember to our name and a Dream. Pass the turn. We just need to top deck that Tormod's Crypt and we're good to go. Opponent gets back a Bloodghast. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. They're going to play Bloodghast. Subtlety that. Put it back on your deck. Somewhere. Hopefully they don't have a Gravecrawler. Actually, I probably should have waited because they're going to play Gurmag Angler. I should have let them have that one. I should have tucked the Gurmag Angler. Or Tasigur. Opponent gets back 2 Vengevines. So we're taking half our life total here. I can chump, which prevents Bloodghast from having haste. Does that matter? No, I don't think it does. We untap. Draw Fractured Sanity. Oh, it's so close! They have 16 cards left. This mill's 14. Oh well. We're dead. I could dismember the Gurmag and, like, block something, but so close. If that Sanity Grinding had milled 2 more cards, we'd have gotten there. Alright, round 4, and this looks like a good opener, so we'll keep. We got 2 Visions of Beyond, 2 Ruin Crabs, a Fetch Land. Some of the best mill hands start with 2 crabs. So begin with a crab. Pass the turn. Opponent mulligans 6. Opponent untaps. They play a Windswept Heath. They crack Windswept Heath. They get a Temple Garden tapped. Alright. We draw Archive Trap, but a turn too late. Play Ruin Crab. Commence the millage. Well, if their second land is a fetch land, they might be sad. Actually, they will be sad. So opponent is Devoted Druid combo with Stoneforge, it looks like, because they got Batterskull. Okay, opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic. Go ahead and search your library. Why don't you? Oh, that's a fantastic piece of equipment you got there. It'd be a shame if you went insane looking for it. Game over. You win. I probably want Dismember, maybe Subtlety over Force of Negation. I'll cut 1 Sanity Grinding. We'll try it like this. Well, it's not fast, but we have interaction. We have Archmage's Charms. I think I do end up keeping this. Okay, opponent leads on Temple Garden. Blaze of Birds. Alright. We untap. Draw Flooded Strand. Play an island, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play Razor Verge Thicket. They play Giver of Runes. They play another Birds. And they are passing. So we either dismember a birds, or we dismember giver, and we do it this turn for sure. If we don't dismember birds, they potentially have collected company, but if we don't dismember giver, we don't have meaningful interaction for the rest of the game. I mean, we still may not. Our interaction might actually be too slow. We untap. We draw a second archive trap. Play an island, pass the turn. Make them afraid of the old double blue counterspell. I think as time goes on, people will play more afraid of counterspell. Okay. I mean, if they try and Chord of Calling, they're going to be sad. We draw Crab. Play Flooded Strand. I don't think we play the Crab. I think we need to hold up Archmage's Charm. And if they cast Chord of Calling or Collected Company, we need to counter it. Eladamri's Call. That I think I can let go by. Let's see what they get. Shalai. Okay. Mill a lot, please. Counter that Veil. Okay. Please mill. They crack Windswept Teeth. They get a Temple Garden tapped. They mill for 13. Now we'll mill them again. 13 more. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Shalai. And a Windswept Teeth. Cracks Windswept Teeth. Gets a Forest. So Veil, 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 Choke. So Choke's a problem. If they ever get another one. Their last card in hand is an Eladamri's Call. And they are searching up Devoted Druid. We untap. We draw Maddening Cacophony. So they have Hexproof and they can't be targeted by the Crab. But Maddening Cacophony can still mill them. So the only thing we have to worry about is our opponent top-decking exactly Vizier of Remedies. They have one in the grave. I think I am just going to mill them for 8. Well, we milled some Stoneforge Mystics. Pass the turn. If they draw Finale of Devastation, which it looks like they're playing Chord in place of, because I can't imagine they play both. Okay, they play Giver. So we actually need to draw our... not that card. The other one. So let's draw some cards. It's still not the cards I wanted. Crack Polluted Delta, get an island, play a Crab. Pass the turn. The problem is we can't target Shalai now, because they can just give Shalai protection from blue. Opponent Skyclave Apparition's the Crab, that's actually good. If we draw Fractured Sanity, we mill them for 14, and then they only get a turn to try and kill us. We take 3 and go to 8. We draw Prismatic Vista. Play Prismatic Vista. Crack it. Get an island. Pass the turn. Stop on my opponent's upkeep. Hang on a minute. Tap all their creatures and draw. We gotta draw exactly Fractured Sanity in the next 2 cards. Dismember actually works. Because we can untap and cast Archive Trap. No, it doesn't. Because Archive Trap is... we need to draw a land. It does increase the number of things we can draw that work. If I draw a land, I can play Crab, play the land, Archive Trap, and kill my opponent. If I draw Fractured Sanity, they lose. And if I draw Sanity Grinding and I get a good flip, they lose. Okay, we kill Shalai. If my opponent chords, they lose. They play a Temple Garden tapped. Alright, we got a lot of good draws that can win us the game here. We untap. Counterspell, why? Why counterspell? Mill our opponent frustration down to 1. But we know a little bit more about our deck. They're playing more than one Vizier. Honestly, I'm going to bring in Surgical so that they don't have the combo. And I'm going to cut Sanity Grindings down to 1. I'll cut the last Sanity Grinding. I'm actually going to play a Void Snare in its place. Shalai giving them Hexproof is bad. And one thing that I was hoping for was that the fact that we have way more spells that say each opponent mills, like Ruin Crab doesn't target, Maddening Cacophony doesn't target, Fractured Sanity doesn't target, would help against giving our opponent Hexproof effects, which it sort of did, but it wasn't enough. Alright, we'll keep. Double Crab's usually good. Opponent just brought in their entire sideboard. They have 58 cards in their deck while 7 cards are in their hand. And they still mulligan to 6. Play an island, play a Ruin Crab. I don't know if that's what caused us to lose last game, was our opponent just, like, bringing in a couple of extra cards. But that is almost never correct to do versus mill. You should never do that. Opponent plays a Noble Hierarch. We untap, we draw an island. Play Crab, play island, mill our opponent. Save targets, always yield. Veil of Summer and Skyclave Apparition. And another Veil of Summer. Do we want to Surgical any of those things? I mean, Surgicaling Veil... spells you control can't be countered, you and permanents you control. So Veil of Summer does nothing other than draw a card off of Surgical. I am going to Surgical to get a look at their hand, though. And I'm going to Surgical Cord. Giver of Runes, Sphinx, Knight of Autumn, Temple Garden, Stoneforge Mystic, Vizier. Alright, hang on. Snipping tool, where are you? Just go ahead and take a screenshot of that. Okay. Well, let's see what they do. They play their Temple Garden. They play Giver of Runes. Then they play Stoneforge, I imagine. Yep. Okay. So that leaves them with Vizier, Kitchen Finks, and Knight of Autumn. They get Sword of Feast and Famine, which we won't be able to counterspell. We untap. We draw Maddening Cacophony. Play an island. Mill our opponent a lot. Maddening Cacophony gets them to 20, so we can Ancestral Recall, which is going to be kind of important. We draw another Ruin Crab. I could Surgical Vizier if they have one engraved. They do not. I could Surgical Devoted Druid on their draw step. Alright, opponent untaps. They draw. Surgical. Yeah, we're going to go with Devoted Druid. Now, somebody pointed out to me before, and I'm not going to forget this. I should never, at least if I know my opponent isn't actively using their graveyard, I should not Surgical their... I shouldn't exile the card with Surgical from the grave, and it mattered there. Because, like, if I hadn't done that, they wouldn't have gotten to 20, and that wouldn't have been an Ancestral Recall. So, everything they have in hand, we know about. I think they drew... Oh, they drew a card that I should have known about. I wasn't paying 100% attention. There's one card I didn't pay attention to. I could, if I really cared, stop the recording and go back and look at the footage, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. But if I was really trying to try hard, I could. Oh, they got Eladamri's Call. That was the card. Which it looks like that's what they're going to do. We untap. We draw Hedron Crab. Play Crab. Pass the turn. Or they might put Feast and Famine into play. Eladamri's Call. Counterspell. Counterspell. I'm going to counterspell your Eladamri's Call. I don't know why, but I was like... for some reason, I thought about that voice. Because I was using it to annoy my roommate a while ago. And, like... it's just like... I was like, I totally want to use it for counterspell. Oh, my gosh. It's got to be super annoying for somebody. Alright, they equip Giver of Runes with Sword of Feast and Famine. I'm going to ditch Counterspell here, because it's not going to do anything. The Crab might. If I draw a fetch land, Crab's actually going to be pretty good. So ditch Counterspell. They untap their lands. They play Finks, gain some life. So they're still holding Vizier of Remedies and Knight of Autumn. We untap. We draw Cryptic. Play the 4th Crab. Pass the turn. Most legendary of all crabs. This is the level beyond Crabtron. I imagine they move Sword over to a different creature, and then they can give that creature Pro Blue, and then they don't even have to worry about us blocking. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. So we're going to lose Cryptic here. Opponent plays Vizier of Remedies, because they're going to use their mana as efficiently as possible. They hit us for 5, or they hit us for 6, we're going to go to 6. If we draw a fetch land, that's 12 times 2, which is not enough to mill my opponent out. So we really need to draw Fractured Sanity, cycle it, and get a fetch land, and then we win. Field of Ruin does not do it, unfortunately. It mills a lot, it just doesn't mill enough to stop us from dying. You know, I'm sensing a theme, and that theme happens to be close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, so not mill, unfortunately. 2 cards left. For like the 3rd time. But have we won a single game by mill? We haven't won a round. I think we won a game, right? It's been so close. And like at first I was going to just chalk it up to variance to like sanity grinding, right? Because we won a game, or we lost a game because sanity grinding didn't mill 2 cards that it should have. You know, sanity grinding being approximately mill 14. Fractured Sanity appears to be just a better sanity grinding because no matter how many blue mana symbols you stick in your deck, it just mills more, and it can cycle at instant speed if you need to hold up a counterspell for something. Okay, we've won 2 games. So, like, yeah, like, Fractured Sanity is just what sanity grinding wanted to be, because it has additional modes, doesn't target, and doesn't have the variance, like it doesn't have the innate variance, which is sad because I really want a card like Sanity Grinding to work. And I mean, like, this deck's probably FNM level, But actually, at FNM, it kind of depends on whether or not your opponents have fetch lands or not, and if they're playing a lot of non-basic lands. Because if they don't have fetch lands, your archive trap is just dead, and that's how you're going to be doing the majority of your milling. I can say with 100% certainty, even at a non-budget level, Fractured Sanity grinding mill is worse than Dimir mill, even non-budget. At least the way I have it built here. I was thinking about using some like Salundi Isle, Salundi Visions to stick some blue mana symbols on our lands, but something talked me out of that at the last minute. I was like, I don't really want to be playing tap lands in the modern format like that. It's different when you're playing Baral and stuff like that, and you can cast your Salundi Visions for 1 mana and it digs 6, and it's like a better Impulse than Impulse will ever be. That's different. When you're just playing it as a tap land and you'd have to full price the front half, and it's just bad. Don't do that. That's the other thing is like if you're playing if you're playing the other consistent mill engine in the form of Mesmeric Orb, you're not playing blue mana symbols for sanity grinding. If you want to play mono blue mill, you might just drop sanity grinding and play Mesmeric Orb in its place. And then you can upgrade from whatever this deck costs to blue-black by adding some Watery Graves, switching out the Prismatic Vistas for the other halves of the Flooded Strands and Polluted Deltas. And then, on top of that, you can do your like Crypt Incursions and Leyline of the Voids and whatever else you want to do out of the side. I'm happy to see that we're running into decks that are playing some of the more interesting cards, like the Vengevine deck playing the 0-mana Rootwalla. That's cool. That is not something I would have anticipated. I wish you guys could see Porter, but if I move, he moves. And he's got his nose stuck right up against my hand. And he's like smelling and licking and trying to get me to grab this toy and throw it. This silly see-through green bone. Alright, play the crab. Pass the turn. Opponent psych. Is this the same guy? It is not. Alright. There's multiple people playing Blue Living End. Alright, they play Salundi Isle. Then they pass. We untap. We draw Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta. Mill our opponent. Crack Polluted Delta. Get an island. Mill our opponent. Pass the turn. Opponent cycles Curator of Mysteries. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn. 4 Steam Vents. Here comes the As Foretold. Alright. They didn't immediately Living End. So on their end step, Archive Trap you, mill a lot, untap, draw a Counterspell. Well, we probably should just leave up Counterspell. Mill our opponent. No, we shouldn't. We should try and mill them as hard as we possibly can. Because they're going to cast Living End for free, and then they're going to want Remand mana. Let's go ahead and Sanity Grinding. They have Force of Negation, pitching As Foretold. Alright, pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent untaps. Counter on As Foretold. They play an island. They cycle Windcaller Raven. The crab is flying! They cycle Striped Riverwinder. They probably have Electro Dominance for Living End. They want to do it at instant speed. We draw Visions of Beyond. Play Field of Ruin. Mill our opponent. Visions. If they do have the Living End, our only hope there is to have Counterspell available. Alright, time to field them. Opponent floats blue mana. Uh-oh. Petty Theft the Crab. Oh, that's not so bad. Get an island. Visions of Beyond. Because casting Ancestral Recall really never gets old, if I'm being honest. Mill our opponent for 13. Pass the turn, I guess. At least we have Force Negation now. We'll discard Sanity Grinding. Opponent untaps. As Foretold, ticking up. They draw. 3 cards left in their deck. Game over. Well, we got there. I think we milled all their zero mana spells. Okay, so Sanity Grinding out. Surgical, Tormod's Crypt, Ashiok in. Cut a couple of Visions of Beyond. Because we're going to be exiling the grave a lot. I'll bring in a Commandeer over a Cryptic and another Cryptic. And I think we gotta go 4 Force Negation, cutting a couple Archmage's Germ. Try like that. You know, trying to wear out your dog by just throwing a toy the length of the basement, especially when he's a big dog. It'd be different if he was a dachshund or even a corgi or, you know, some small breed. It's not enough when he's a big old lab. He needs open space to run, and 95-degree weather is not conducive to that. And of course, he can't see in the dark, so he can't go out and play when it's cool. I feel bad. He's got too much energy. Not to mention I've been recording most of the day, so like you'll see me in this outfit for like 9 videos, and everybody will be like, "Kano, change your shirt. You've been wearing the same clothes for 9 days, Kano." Well, I don't have the frickin' mental fortitude to go upstairs and change my shirt and create the illusion that I've done, 6 videos in 6 different days. I'm pre-recording prior to vacation, but so I know people, people are gonna give me shit. But my original point was, since I've recorded like 9 videos, Porter like slept all day, and I did give him a good long walk when it finally cooled down, but it's not enough. Like 1 walk is not enough for a dog. Porter generally gets 2 or 3 in a day, and then plays on top of that. So he's kind of high energy. When it cycles a curator of mysteries, plays an island, and passes. I would really, really like to draw an island here. That works too, actually. Play crab. Prismatic Vista. You know who to target, Hedron Crab. You save that target, and you always yield to that target. Crack Prismatic Vista. Get an island. Mill our opponent for a lot more. Alright, well, we've milled 3 out of 4 Crashing Footfalls, which is pretty good, I think. The problem is, if they living end, we only have Commandeer, which doesn't really do anything to living end. Opponent may not have the 3rd land, or the double red for Electro Dominance, which is good. This means that we'll have Counterspell available, basically from now on. Yeah, we just gotta pass. We can't risk it. Not when them resolving a 0-mana spell would just mean the end of the universe for us. Opponent untaps, they draw, they Street Wraith, they shock a Steam Vents. Here comes the As Foretold. Counterspell! Get him. Awesome. I could have commandeered that, actually. Maybe I should have. I just need a land, and I can start casting Ancestral Recalls. Yes! Prismatic Vista. Mill more. More milling. Get an island. Mill him some more. Visions of Beyond. Visions of Beyond. Crab number 3? Crabtron, assemble. Pass the turn. We are going to discard... I don't want to discard Commandeer. I'm going to discard Fractured Sanity, and that's it. Okay, for some reason I thought I had more cards that I needed to discard. I thought I had 9 cards in hand. As Foretold, huh? Well, how about a whopping Force of Negation? Game over. We won a match. It was successful. Victory is ours. So, let me talk about this deck for a second. Well, I know. We'll play more, but give me a minute. He's so pitiful. He makes the worst whines. Like, I cannot tell you how pitiful he can make himself sound. It's just like, he's just like, nobody ever plays with puppies in this house. They're just they're just ignored and forgotten about all day. Dude, it's not my fault you're napping. You kept me up late last night too, didn't you? Is that why I woke up so tired this morning? Were you nudging me a lot in the sleep? Anyway, that's enough of my personal conversation with my dog in a video about Magic the Gathering. Jake, what did I call this? Fractured Mill. Okay, what did we learn? We learned that the worst card in Mono Blue Sanity Grinding Mill is Sanity Grinding. Like, Fractured Sanity is what Sanity Grinding wants to be. And I think with proper deck construction, about what it is on average. However, the fact that Fractured Sanity doesn't target, it has a cycling mode so it can still mill while drawing cards, like, makes it so much better than Sanity Grinding, which it is clearly a reference to. And Sanity Grinding there's just no way to make it work, like, better than it already is. We're thinning our deck with fetches, so we have the maximum number of blue mana symbol density that we can get. Like, short of running heavier mana cost cards like Chancellor of the Spires or more cryptic commands or things like that, there's just no way to make it work. And doing that, we would sacrifice the early interaction. I thought Counterspell would make this deck a lot better. Turns out I was wrong. Field of Ruin, forcing your opponent to search, being as heavily reliant on Archive Trap as you are, like, playing a colorless land, any colorless land, in a deck with, 9 to 11 triple blue cards on 3? It's not great at all, in the slightest. No amount of free counter spells is going to save this deck. That's what I've determined. So, really, honestly, just, like, getting rid of Sanity Grinding, playing this deck almost exactly as it is, making it 2 colors, and splashing for Crypt Incursion and the artifact, Mesmeric Orb, putting that in this deck, and dropping the Archmage's Charms, you have a good Dimir Mill deck. But making it mono blue for the purposes of Sanity Grinding, which I really want to work, doesn't work. It's not good enough. The inbuilt variance in this card is not breakable. It's good, like, it's 3 mana Glimpse the Unthinkable. And Glimpse the Unthinkable is insane because it costs 2, and 3 mana is not bad, but for 3 mana, we want to be milling like 15 to 20 cards every time we cast Sanity Grinding. And I think our best mill was 14 or 15, so Fractured Sanity. Like, unless they print a card that's like a blue split card that's like triple blue on one side and quadruple blue on the other, and both are relevant, like they're instants that do stuff, like, unless they print a card like that, I don't think Sanity Grinding will ever be better than whatever the other mill deck is. And the worst part is, all of the best triple blue spells to enable Sanity Grinding are rares from sets that are difficult to get a hold of, like Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2, and Cryptic, which is another expensive spell, or another expensive card. Not to mention, you have to be playing fetch lands, and yes, you do have to be playing fetch lands to make Ruin Crab work. I mean, I suppose with the artifact duels, if you're willing to play tap lands, you could play Ghost Quarter, and you Ghost Quarter yourself, but it's just not going to be as good. And there's no reason to build this deck over regular Dimir Mill unless you are hell-bent on, I am going to cast Sanity Grinding targeting my opponent. That is the only reason that you would ever build this deck. And unfortunately, it's not good enough. I've talked about this a lot, and this is not really a rant. I want there to be alternatively viable ways to construct archetypes. Like, as an example, Burn. You can play Blitz, which is kind of like a Burn deck, except it's focused on prowess and spell spam. You can play 2 different kinds of Blitz, because you can play Magecraft, you can play regular Blitz. You can play, with Burn, you can play a creature-heavy Burn list, or you can play a sorcery and instant-heavy Burn list, where you splash black and you play things like Bump in the Night, and one is better than the other, but there are merits to both. You can play 5 different kinds of blue-white control, depending on whatever your metagame is. You can tech it to beat other stuff, but the integral win conditions will change. You can play creature-based green combo decks, where you can play the Heliod combo, you can play the Devoted Druid combo, you can play, and they're all green combo creature decks, but they're different, even though they're the same archetype. And so, I'd like an alternatively viable mill deck that isn't some infinite mill combo, because mill is like Burn. I'd like an alternative mill that's still a Burn deck. And Fractured Sanity is a step in the right direction to make that deck work. So I'm glad it got printed. But Sanity Grinding is not the card we were hoping for. So, all right, I've talked enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I'm sorry it wasn't as competitive as I would have liked it to have been, but, it's an experiment. We're brewing. I'm trying to brew new decks. I will be playing some more new decks. Expect a lot of limited content. I don't know how the schedule is going to work out, but I've got travel coming up, so I will try my best to make interesting content, but what you see is what you get. And if it's more limited content than constructed content for the next little bit, I'm sorry. I have a few ideas for interesting constructed decks still coming up down the pipeline. Whatever you want to call that. I said up and then immediately said down. At least one of the decks is a deck I have heard nobody else talk about or try to build. So hopefully I can make content before someone else does and come up with something unique for you guys. I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had the idea for the deck, but I have some ideas that might make it uniquely viable. We'll see. Anyway, I've talked enough. I've definitely talked enough at the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last few times have been earlier than that. There might be a day where I miss a stream because of my travel. I'm not 100% on that. I will let you guys know. Discord in the link in the description. Join it. Best place to get news about what I'm actively doing. It's the best place and the easiest place to reach me directly if you need to talk to me or you want to ask me questions. I have a bunch of mods. I have a bunch of helpful community members. We're all fun. Happy people. Well, we're not fun and happy, but we enjoy playing Magic, and we do a lot of brewing and have a lot of fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of June. If you want to have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description below. Thank you all.